Today on Animal Outtakes,
would you recommend that our viewers who do have dogs would travel with their pets?
we're hitting the road and taking our furry best friend along for the ride. Join us as we learn how to travel safely with our pets. Hello and welcome to Animal Outtakes. I'm your host, Marsha Panuce. Every year, millions of us take time off from work and go on vacation for a little rest and relaxation. Lately, more and more of those trips have included our pets. Today, we'll explore what you need to do before you book your hotel room and after you hit the open road with your best pal riding shotgun. There's a lot to cover, so let's put the pedal to the metal. When it's time to hit the road, you may not think twice about letting your dog come along for the ride. Josh, our pets are our family, and we want to take them with us. In the car. Is it safe? Should we do it?
Well, it can be safe, but we found in a recent survey that 1 in 3 people never secure their pet in the car. They just let them run around, ride with them on their laps, and it can be very distracting and unsafe for both them and their pet.
The main reason for not buckling up? The distance. Nearly half of the people surveyed by AAA said they didn't use a pet restraint because they were only going for a short trip. But Josh Carrasco says not restraining your pet could have disastrous consequences.
When your pet's in the front seat, you want to pet them, you want to pay attention to them, you want them to ride in your lap. It's incredibly distracting. If just taking your eyes off the road for more than 2 seconds doubles your risk for a crash.
Worse than texting, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's comparable to texting.
Okay. Josh, I have dogs, and they all want to ride in my lap. And I let them, and I just put the seatbelt around them. Is that enough?
We find that's a common thing people say is, the dog's not happy in a crate or restraint. They want to be in my lap, but it's still unsafe. Seatbelts are designed for humans. They're designed to keep us safe in the event of a crash, across our midsection so that if there is a crash, we are safe, but it's not going to protect your pet or your dog in the same way.
AAA suggests using a pet restraint whenever you're in the car, but to also keep your dog in the back seat for extra protection.
You kind of have to think of your dog or pet, and most people do, it's not a stretch, kind of like your child. You're not going to put a small child in the front seat, even in a car seat, because that's incredibly unsafe. That's the airbag goes off. It's not as safe for them as the back seat.
Okay, so show me how to get them into the back seat.
All right, let's do it.
First things first, we have to put a harness on our dog, Sugar.
So this is one of the harness straps that you can use when you have a harness for your animal in the car. This actually attaches to your seatbelt. It loops around, and then you attach this end to the harness so that they're secure in the back seat.
Then Josh shows us how the restraint works.
All right, so if you're using kind of one of the straps like this, you can take the seatbelt and secure it like that, and then you can take this and you just thread it around the seat belt, make sure it's tight, and then you would attach the harness to this end.
And now it's time to get Sugar in the car. Okay, Sugar. There we go.
Just take this. Put it through there, and that end comes up.
Okay, and she's in.
You can kind of see this harness is a little bit big for this dog.
Yes.
It's really important when you purchase a harness for your dog that it's the correct size, because you want it to fit snug so that in case there is a crash that they're secure and it's not flopping around and could cause an injury.
This is just one of several different devices that can be used to buckle up your pooch.
There are specifically designed harnesses and crates that you can use for your pet to secure them in the back seat, and then they can be safe in the event of a crash.
The trick is finding one that works well for your dog. Well, she's liking it, right?
Yeah, she looks thrilled.
They're so thrilled. People often let their animal stick their head out the car while they're driving around. that also is incredibly unsafe, just because if there's debris or something could strike the animal, that could also injure your pet. So you don't want to let your animal stick their head outside the window while you're driving.
If your destination is too far to drive, you may consider flying.
Josh, we've talked about car travel, but so many of us fly across the country, if nothing else, and we want to take our pets with us. What would be the safest way to keep our babies with us?
Well, there's a lot of debate on whether, air travel is good for your pets or not, but a lot of us, sometimes have to do it.
Most major airlines will allow you to bring your dog along for the ride, but their pet policies can vary greatly. Some will let you bring a small pet in the cabin with you, while others require all animals to be stowed in the cargo area of the plane. Be sure to check with your carrier ahead of time to find out their policy and how much it will cost to bring your pet with you. It's also a good idea to call a couple of days before your flight to reconfirm that you'll be traveling with a pet. The U.S. Department of Agriculture requires a health certificate if you're flying out of state, so make sure to get your pet to the vet within 30 days of your trip to make sure they're healthy enough to travel.
You have to make sure that you prepare for the flight, though. You want to make sure that you have all their documentation as far as rabies, and also check with your airline before you fly. Each airline has different requirements when you fly with them, so make sure you have everything that you need and arrive early for the flight, about 2 hours early.
Then there's the question of where your pet will fly.
With smaller dogs, it's a little bit easier. You can bring them on the plane with you in a carrier as long as it fits under your seat. So if your dog or animal or pet is that size, it's not as difficult. Well, if you have a larger dog, there really isn't an option to bring them on the plane. You would have to put them in cargo, but what you would want to do is invest in a carrier that's very secure. Some carriers actually are certified for flying and meet different regulations. So you'd really want to make sure you have the right carrier, make sure you have your right documentation, and one of the most important things is to make sure that the handlers are able to feed the animal without having to open up the cage.
Pet carriers must be large enough for your dog or cat to stand up, turn around, and lie down comfortably. Airlines reserve the right to refuse to take your pet on board if the carrier is too small. As far as feeding, the USDA requires any animal flying be offered food within 4 hours before check-in.
When it comes to feeding, you don't want to feed them right before a flight or something like that. You don't want them to get nauseous or something like that. But for water, you want to keep giving them water, make sure they have enough while they're in the cold and when they have afterwards as well.
As a way to ease any upset stomachs mid-flight, it's recommended that feeding be right at 4 hours. That being said, you should allow your dog water as often as you can before boarding. With careful planning and preparation, flying with your pet can be done with ease.
So we have discussed car and air travel. What about bus? What about train?
There really isn't an option if you're traveling by bus or train. Most bus lines do not allow pets at all, no matter if you can fit them under your seat or in your lap. And the same with train. I believe there are some in the Northeast where they might have some exceptions, but for the most part, if you're taking Amtrak or something like that, there are no pets allowed.
Still ahead on Animal Outtakes.
So when you come into the hotel and you check in, obviously you say, I have Charlie Brown with me.
We'll catch up with a seasoned traveler to find out some tips and tricks to a comfortable hotel stay with your pet. But first, it's not just dogs and cats that travel. After the break, we'll show you the right way to take your horse along for the ride.
Stay with us for more Animal Outtakes.
For thousands of years, we've been humans' best friend. You've been through a lot, and we've been right there with you. A dog is part of the family, a confidant, and a friend who always knows how to get into your heart. So what happens to our beloved companions when we can no longer care for them? This is why we've created Dante's Den, an innovative, state-of-the-art facility that will provide care for up to 100 dogs.
Dante's Den is a community for joyful dogs.
Millions of Americans face uncertainty when planning for the future of beloved pets who may well outlive them. Dante's Den is a charitable organization, so in whatever capacity you can, please lend your support so that we may continue this most wonderful work.
Dante and I would like to thank you for watching and for also opening up your hearts to our wonderful community of joyful dogs.
Learn about the many ways you could become involved by visiting dantesden.org.
Florida Poodle Rescue is having its second annual fundraiser, Putting on the Poodle, starting on Wednesday at 11:30 a.m. at the Luxurious Michael's on East Restaurant, located at 1212 East Avenue, South in Sarasota. The money raised will help save unwanted, neglected, and abused dogs in our local communities. So please come out and support this cause. For tickets, call 941-371-6798 or go online at www.floridapoodlerescue.org.
I'd like you to meet my new best friend, the Kissing Bandit. This is Bling. Bling is a 10-month-old Chihuahua mix and the sweetest little girl that you would ever want. She loves to play ball. She loves to cool her paws in the pool. And she's just the best kisser. Bling is looking for a very good forever home. She had a tough beginning. She was found in a vacant apartment with no food and no water for about 3 days. And she survived. And then she came to Dante's Den, where we fattened her up a little bit and we gave her some water. And she has just thrived.
Good job.
And she is the perfect dog. She loves other dogs, she loves people, and she's just the best.
Not all animals that need to be moved will fit in your car or even on a plane. Today, Doctor, we're here with Glitter, who's going to take a trip. And you're going to show us the best way to transport her, aren't you?
Yes.
When it comes to transporting horses, it's all about the trailer. Dr. Bill Whitler is a veterinarian in Sarasota, Florida. He says the first thing you need to do actually has nothing to do with the horse at all.
Well, I think the first priority is make sure your trailer's in good working condition. Make sure the boards are solid, make sure the doors close solidly. Obviously make sure it's well attached to the vehicle towing it, because we don't want anything to come loose while they're going down the road at 70 miles an hour.
After inspecting the trailer and ensuring its safety, then it's time to load up the precious cargo.
Come on, Glitter. Load up. Load up. Load up. There you go.
Here we go.
So once they're safely on, want to make sure they don't back out.
Are horses good travelers?
Some are better than others. The first mission is getting them loaded, which again, in some cases is a real challenge. Glitter happens to be, fortunately, a pro at this, and unless she does something completely out of sort today, she's going to get right on, but that's not always the way it is. So sometimes they require encouragement.
Now, what are the comforts in the trailer? Do they have food? Do they have water?
Rarely that they would have access to water. Oftentimes they'll have access to some kind of food, and obviously depending on how fast the horse eats it, how long it will last. So, and that's one of the things about long distance trailering, is to make sure that, you stop along the way to offer the horses food and water, because, you could drive, long distances and they could get dehydrated if they didn't have access to water or somewhere along the way.
Once the horse is in the trailer, it's recommended that you tie them in to prevent injury in case of a crash, or if you have more than one horse in the trailer, to keep them from hurting each other.
Like you can see here, without her head tied, she can reach across to the other side. If you had put food in for both horses and say Glitter finished hers first and she was trying to reach across to the other horse's food, there could be an altercation between them over food. Horses will fight over food and they will bite each other. Biggest thing about tying would be the rope, it has to be loose enough that they've got, reasonable movement, but not so loose they could, it could, drag down into the front of the trailer. and the horse could get their leg, caught in it while you're traveling down the road.
Once you reach your destination, it's time to let your horse out, which requires some attention.
Doesn't have to step up like this trailer requires. In this case, when she backs out, she's got to step down, which again, sometimes as they step down, they can skin their legs up on the back of the trailer. So some have a rubber bumper there. This particular trailer isn't. Some people like to wrap their legs so that the horse can't injure itself. Ready? But they sometimes come out fast. So again, be cognizant of safety things behind the horse. We want a safe area behind so when she comes out.
Dr. Whitler says the key to successfully trailering your horse is making sure they're comfortable with the process before it's time to go.
It's the practice before you need to do it. So, if you think you might be traveling with your horse a month from now, now's the time to start making sure the horse is going to load, because invariably, as you can see, sometimes they decide to change their mind. So if you, just get the horse used to being loaded, either with food rewards or in other ways. Again, encouragement. It's all about the training.
When it comes to loading a single horse on a straight load trailer like this one, Dr. Whitler has an important tip to remember.
I was always told that you put the horse on the inside, in other words, on the driver's side, such that as you're going down the road, if your passenger side tires go off the road, the weight of the horse is not on the outside, because as you can imagine, pulling the trailer back onto the highway with 1,000 pounds of horse on that tire is a lot harder than when you've got the 1,000 pounds of horse on these tires.
Coming up next on Animal Outtakes.
I definitely love bringing him everywhere, and the people enjoy it, and I love having him with me wherever I go.
We're checking in for our vacation and getting some advice on how to find the best hotel for you and your pet.
For thousands of years, we've been humans' best friend. You've been through a lot, and we've been right there with you. A dog is part of the family, a confidant, and a friend who always knows how to get into your heart. So what happens to our beloved companions when we can no longer care for them? This is why we've created Dante's Den, an innovative, state-of-the-art facility that will provide care for up to 100 dogs.
Dante's Den is a community for joyful dogs.
Millions of Americans face uncertainty when planning for the future of beloved pets who may well outlive them. Dante's Den is a charitable organization, so in whatever capacity you can, please lend your support so that we may continue this most wonderful work.
Dante and I would like to thank you for watching and for also opening up your hearts to our wonderful community of joyful dogs.
Learn about the many ways you could become involved by visiting dantesden.org. And now, it's time for Tales from Dante's Den.
If you want to be smothered in kisses, all you have to do is visit Honey and her boy Huck at Dante's Den.
Come, I know, I love you too. Yes.
Honey and Huck came to Dante's den after being rescued from death row at another shelter. Huck came in with his mom, and they came in as a pair, obviously, and but Mom had just about had enough with Huck. I don't know why, because yes, you are so precious. But he is also full of energy and love, and I think she's ready to kind of send him on his way. Both Mom and Pup were suffering from severe intestinal issues. Honey with hookworm, and Huck was battling a severe case of coccidius. Through treatments at Dante's den, both are feeling great now, and they just want to play. 2-year-old Honey is full of energy. Meanwhile, little Huck is just loving all the attention. He's the youngest dog ever to stay at Dante's den, and he's just as rambunctious as his mom. Huck's favorite thing is to squirm and to wiggle and to play with his mom and then jump in the pool, and then he's not quite sure how he got into the pool, and we fish him out, but he's a great dog. He's a happy dog. Honey and Huck are a mix between Retriever and Black-mouthed Cur, the latter of which is a breed known for their strong work ethic. They're typically used to herd cattle and hunt wild boar, but have a mild and protective manner in the home. Huck is old enough to go home by himself and wants a family that will dote on him like he's grown accustomed to at Dante's den. Stop it. No, 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 no. You don't get a treat. As for Honey, all she needs is a big backyard and an open heart. For Charlie Brown, spending a night or two in a hotel room is no big deal. Charlie Brown is a pampered pooch, and he travels with you everywhere, doesn't he, Stephanie?
Yes, he does.
Stephanie Hall takes her miniature dachshund with her almost everywhere, including on vacations. He's a puppy, but he is really a seasoned traveler, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I've had him in cars, planes, different hotels. He likes to travel a lot with me.
She says when planning your trip, it's important to check with the hotel ahead of time and learn about their pet policy.
Well, I do call the hotels ahead of time to make sure that they have a pet policy and you can bring them, because not all hotels are pet friendly. Normally there is a small fee to have your pet stay with you depending on how many nights you're there. And some hotels, they like to provide a bed for them or water bowls. And normally there's a restriction on what floor that you can be on when you have your pet with you.
Some possible limitations include weight and breed restrictions and what floor you can stay on in the hotel. It's important to ask these questions when booking your room.
Now, the most important thing, I would think, is, of course, walking your dog.
Yes.
And are there designated areas around the hotels that you stay in that you can do that?
Oh, absolutely. They make sure to have designated areas for them to go to the bathroom.
It's important to remember that while hotels work hard to cater to their guests, they may not have all the amenities needed for your dog. Be sure to bring enough food for your stay, dishes for serving, as well as a leash for walking. If you think you'll be leaving your pet in the room, even for a short period of time, consider using a crate. That way your pup can't get into anything, and there's less chance he could escape.
We know that you're a seasoned traveler with Charlie. You've made this decision that you want to keep him with you. Mm-hmm. But is there any stress involved with this?
When I leave and go out of town, I normally would have to leave him either at a sitter or like someone close by would have to watch him. And in this case, I know that I can bring him with me and not have to worry about finding someone to watch him. Normally, when you have to have like a veterinarian or someone watch them, they have to check their shot records and everything like that. And when I bring him to the hotel, all they have to know is that you have a dog, what size the dog is, and that's it. It actually relieves stress.
To sum up then, when you decide to go traveling with your pet, what are the 3 most important things that you should do before you leave the home?
I think the most important is call the hotel, make sure they are pet friendly. See if there is a fee involved to have Charlie Brown there. Is it more cost effective to have him come with me or to leave him at home? And then two, make sure about the restrictions of where that he has to walk outside or what floor I have to be on in the hotel for him.
And not forget to ask, do they bake treats?
Yes, absolutely. He loves his treats.
Would you recommend that our viewers who do have dogs would travel with their pets? Do you think it's a great way to do it?
Absolutely. When I check into the hotels, they love to see Charlie Brown. He's definitely he loves people, so I definitely love bringing him everywhere, and the people enjoy it, and I love having him with me wherever I go.
So he is the rock star.
Oh, absolutely.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Animal Outtakes is produced by Dante's Den Foundation, a nonprofit group dedicated to creating the best life for dogs. If you would like to learn more about Dante's Den, donate, or volunteer, visit our website, dantesden.org. That's a wrap on this episode of Animal Outtakes. We hope you've learned a little something about how to properly transport your pets and the things to think about before heading out on the open road. Join us again next week for another outstanding animal adventure. We'll see you then.
From being safe, in the car.
You're doing great. Most people tie their horses. Some people prefer not to.
Ask these questions fast. Stop. No, 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 no. You don't get a treat. Don't you have enough bloopers by